Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to be frightened as we summon fiendish beings made from mechanical terror. It's time for us to survive our 5 nights.
5 nights left to fight you. One last thing to tend to. You'll feel what I can do, but you'll never run.
So we're not going to waste any time and just going to dive right in. For those of you who don't know, Five Nights at Freddy's, or FNAF, is the game series created by Scott Cawthon that basically took over the gaming world by storm a couple of years ago. It has always been my go-to example of horror being a very profitable genre. Despite how you may feel about the franchise, though, it's no doubt popular. So let's dive in. But first, I should probably discuss what I'm going to cover and what I'm not going to cover. I'm going to cover these games as games. I will not be covering the lore. There are hundreds, if not thousands of videos on the lore, and while it is fascinating, I have nothing really to add to it. I am here to judge the games based on their gameplay and their gameplay alone. Five Nights at Freddy's is a rather interesting beast. Depending on how you can play it, it can either go very well for you or very poorly. However, the first game has many of the core mechanics that will become commonplace. In the first game, you are a security guard working the night shift at an animatronic children's restaurant. You are supposed to keep yourself safe as the animatronics think you are without your costume, which is a huge no-no, so they will try to stuff you in a suit, which will kill you. You also have to survive from midnight to 6 a.m. The main thing that separates this game from the others in the franchise is the infamous dwindling power system. It is your biggest burden, as no matter what you do, it will drain. You can sit there and do nothing, and the power will still drain. You also have 5 animatronics to deal with, one that appears very irregularly by the name of Golden Freddy. However, the rest of the cast appears very regularly. There's Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. These animatronics are the most common throughout the entire games and are only very rarely not seen in any shape, form, or capacity. There is one thing though I can describe about FNAF: it's tedious. Sadly to say, the original Five Nights is kind of boring, especially if you play it long enough and die a lot. FNAF works on a simple mechanic. You mess up, you get jump scared. You are on the edge of your seat trying to make sure that you don't get jump scared, and life goes on. It builds up tension and fear, but also can get rather tiring if you don't know what you're doing. If you lock yourself into a routine that works, the power system becomes more annoying than frightening, and it's kinda meh. The game isn't awful by any means, but it really did improve over time.
How pathetic for you to cry victim. We know your guilty heart, soiled within monsters roam these halls, but they're not robots. Men are capable of some dark thoughts. Crank those gears, the music isn't mean. Been a real long day and we're dying to be free. Don't stop now, cause I can guarantee when the silence drops, we're the last thing that you'll see.
This is considered to be the hardest FNAF game, and I can kind of see that. You not only have to deal with the old gang, but you also have to deal with their quirkily redesigned counterparts that look so adorable, but yet wanting the same goal. You again play a security guard working the night shift, and of course have to survive your 5 nights. The good news is there is no annoying power system. However, there is a sort of frustration in the whole game that makes it challenging and ups the fear factor a bit. And that is another ticking time clock mechanic known as the wind-up toy. Never, ever not wind up this toy. If you don't... It is difficult, but you know what? It does what FNAF is meant to do, and it does it very well. I freaking love Five Nights at Freddy's 3. That's my favorite premise, my favorite animatronic, and honestly, This is where Scott Cawthon really should have ended it, going out on a super high note. The premise of this game is simple. You are working to help your friend with a new security guard at what is known as Fazbear Sprite. It is a horror attraction that is designed of the dark hauntings of the past restaurants and the mysterious lore, and again, I'm not covering it because I am not map hacked. The core cast do come back as phantoms, but they won't kill you, but they will certainly annoy you as they put you in danger from the real animatronic, who is also my favorite animatronic, Springtrap. Springtrap is a fantastic machine, a cool design, a creepy origin story, and a monstrous image. He's like FNAF's own little slasher villain, and you know how much I like those if you watched last week's video. Another thing about FNAF 3, why I consider it my favorite, is the game system. Springtrap is the only animatronic, but instead of you being defenseless in your office, you're instead kind of in a chess match with the murderous machine. You are to stall him until your shift over, and Springtrap will do everything in his power to destroy you. You also have to make sure you are smart and intelligent. Add one of the most satisfying conclusions of all time, and you got a heck of a little horror story playing out before you. So when Scott was announcing a part 4 of the series, I kind of rolled my eyes. FNAF 3 was perfect, leave it alone, don't mess with Snot's Broken, don't make the lore overly complicated, just leave on a high note and make bank on your creation. Truthfully, I only bought FNAF 4 and Sister Location after I knew I was going to be doing these games this year as a retrospective. Thankfully though, my money wasn't wasted. FNAF 3 is my favorite, however the best FNAF game is right before you. There are no series staples here. There are no cameras to track your movements, no funny voice guide, nothing but you, a flashlight, and your wits to survive in your own home. Add the fact that you are a child in this game, and it makes it even worse. Oh, and of course these animatronics are absolutely terrifying. Something about their design is disturbing and unnerving. I think it's the teeth. The fact that robots don't usually have teeth like this. They're usually straight and square, but all these things are jagged and sharp and destructive. Oh, and of course, each scare is filled with tension. Since you only have to use your common sense and your hearing and your flashlight, the scares are very rare, but when they happen, you honestly feel like they are your fault. It's a pleasant surprise from a very frightfully horror game. Before I start on the last game, though, I should probably talk about FNAF World. This is a fun little spin-off title in an RPG format created by Scott Cawthon. It's a fun little game for fans of the franchise, especially if you like seeing your favorite characters as basically chibis, which is great because look at Chibi Springtrap, he's so adorable. If you're a fan, pick it up. It's free on Game Jolt. You have no real excuse. If not, don't worry about it. After all, we have to get back to the frights. So, I think one of my favorite internet reviewers of all time can sum up my feelings towards this game in one simple, glorious outburst.
Betrayal! What? Betrayal! Betrayed me! This game sucks!
FNAF 4 was a very, very pleasant surprise. I was expecting a cash grab, and I got one of the best horror games I've played in a very long time. Sister Location is what I was afraid of. Sister Location is a very linear and very boring horror game. FNAF 4 took the traditional Five Nights at Freddy's formula and fine-tuned it to a masterful degree. Sister Location is a linear story that makes the already complicated lore begin to make Kingdom Hearts look coherent. FNAF 3 had tight gameplay and made you feel like a genius going out against terrifying animatronics. Sister Location basically holds your hand and basically tells you what to do to outsmart all of them. The original FNAF and its sequel had mysteries of the unknown and the chance that all your hard work will become meaningless within seconds. Sister Location can't decide if it wants to be a legitimate horror game or a legitimate parody of FNAF. The designs of these robots got cooler and cooler. Sister Location's new characters are unbelievably lamely designed. On almost every level, Sister Location is a failure. Going off of the Silver Eyes book that Scott wrote, instead of making something that is nice and uncanny fluff, this game kind of just changes way too much and ruins itself. And I'm sorry to say about that. However, I hope you enjoyed this retrospective on Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. I know the details were scarce, but don't worry. Our final act of the carnival will be upon us. We'll finally be returning to the world of ponies. And I have good news. Great news, in fact. Wonderful news. Our last act will receive help from a certain factory.